Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Sean.
So, are you girls friends?
Yes.
Yes.
We met in 1978. This was my first year or second year here, and Bonnie, it was her first year here.
At Huronda.
At Huronda, yes.
And how old were you?
I was 10.
I was 11. I was 10 or 11.
You were 11.
I was 11.
11.
I'm old. I'm
She's
much
older than I
older,
am.
much
Yeah.
more mature.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you've kept connected?
Well, here's the thing. When we were in camp, I was Sherry Smith's best friend.
Uh-oh.
And Joanne was Ruthie McMeekin's best friend. So
Yeah.
we sort of hung out, but
At
we
camp.
weren't like best
At
buddies
camp. Yeah.
at camp. But then, once
grew up.
we grew up, and then in high school, we kept on bumping into each other, and then we discovered that we're sisters from another mother.
And
So-
we've been together
And we've been
basically
together
ever since.
So
And you're completing each other's sentences.
Yeah, and we look alike.
and we look alike, and then at this reunion, Mike came. Mike looked at me and said, "Oh, Joanne," and it's like, "No, she's over there." And then Pete Bruce, my ex-husband,
Oh, Joanne.
said, "Oh, Joanne." I'm like, "No, I'm Bonnie. Joanne's over there."
So,
Like,
people change over time.
Yeah.
Although we think we look the same.
Yeah, and first of all, let's get into this relationship with Pete Bruce. That's
And Mike Bruce.
and Mike.
and Mike Bruce.
Me.
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pete was
so
mine. Mike was hers.
right.
And the thing was, like, my love for Pete grew over, like, it took me 2 or 3 years to finally get married to him. Whereas Joanne,
First year.
year 1, bam,
9 years old.
done.
Yeah.
Like,
But he married a lot of other
He did.
girls
so
that
did
year,
Pete.
yes.
I've heard that Pete has
But
done
I was
the
his
same.
A-camp wife, 1977. I hold the title well. My father even made a pin for him that said, "Hi, I'm Joanne Burke's husband," which we sent to him. So,
Yeah.
pretty forward 9-year-old, I can tell you that.
So the Bruces and you guys.
Sister.
We were going to have a double wedding, like,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
Like, once we were old enough, because, we were at 9 and
Little
12.
young.
We were
Yeah,
just
little
a little young. But it was going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about like female stuff that you looked up to? Who was on your list there? Who did you?
For me, back in the day, the one that stood out above all was Shirley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shirley
'cause
Griffin.
she and Trevor were Trip Hut when
Yeah.
I was here, and she basically was kind of my idol at the time, because I just thought that everything that went on in the Trip Hut, as far as archery and learning skills like fire building and all that stuff, that was I was home. I was absolutely home. But later on, people that I really admired were people like Margot Stuthers and
Margot.
Jill Feltham,
Yeah.
because Jill was probably the all-time best
counselor
we ever had.
Yeah.
And she was like our soul sister, even though she was our counselor. So we, I would say Shirley, Margot, and Jill, and then
Jill.
later on people like Marna, and just very cool people as you start to get into the late 70s, early 80s. Just some really, and obviously here now, except for Shirley, of course, but we're so happy to see them because they're part of the original crew, kind of thing. Right?
And then I guess the weirdest thing that happened when we came to the 25th anniversary reunion, Tammy and Joanne, like, we were,
Tammy Hand?
Tammy Hand, yep.
because we were all in a cabin group together, and we'd gone on a hiking trip to Algonquin Park. Like, it was sort of a canoe portage hike.
It was
thing.
a test.
It was a
First
test trip. And they were talking away, and I was like, "Oh, it must have been the year that I was laundry girl." And they're like,
Nope,
"No,
you were there."
You were there." Because seriously, I have flashes of someone wearing flip-flops on a hiking trip. I have flashes
sandwiches.
of a peanut butter jar with like
raccoon claws
in it.
Wet sandwiches.
And then sitting in the back of a pickup truck with a tarp over us, drinking hot soup. And
that's all she remembers.
Yeah, that's all I remember.
So this was our test. This was our test of the. So we were sort of the cabin group that they wanted to, instead of doing a canoe trip, they wanted to try a hiking trip instead. So we just had bad luck from the get-go. It started with, there are 18 people on this trip. We had 6 tents, only 3 of which had poles. So we ended up having to put everybody into the 3 working tents, and we had to like I slept in my bathing suit. It was the only thing that was dry.
'cause
So
it
we had to
rained.
open up our sleeping bags. We had to sort of lay like sausages, and then basically, if anybody wanted to turn over,
We all
everybody had to turn
roll.
over.
And would you prefer to have not had that experience?
No, because it was actually, especially talking about the stories, because the reason we cut it short was it rained non-stop.
We were sliding
And I
down
think,
hills.
and we had heavy, this is in the days of having heavy kitchen packs on your back, and we were teeny tiny back then.
yeah.
So, but it was the night that we heard a wildcat screeching in the night that we basically said, that's it. That's it. And we hiked back to the parking lot. And the reason we had to wait in the parking lot because we actually had to contact the camp to have someone come rescue us.
Yeah.
But it was it's actually one of the greatest trips we ever had.
Nobody talks about the trip. Remember that trip that was sunny the whole time?
No,
and
it was
we had
the
flat
greatest
water.
And it was our
trip.
nurse that was wearing the flip-flops. on
She
our hiking
she was an
trip.
experienced traveler in Europe apparently, but I guess her hiking gear is flip flops. So
Yeah, I guess the mountains aren't that high, but they have They have like
I
high
don't know.
cliffs and things. Well,
I don't know. So yeah, so we, I mean, this is the kind of thing. And Bonnie, yes, we finish each other's sentences. When we do get together,
Yeah.
it's nonstop, blah, 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 which is exhausting,
Yeah.
but we love it.
but we figured out that my level was not measurable. My blood sugar level was probably so low that I was just walking.
urine
in a coma.
testing back then.
Yeah.
We weren't
Yeah.
blood testing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
I was
she,
negative.
yeah.
So
So
I'm
that was the
good.
problem. She was someone who, and this is the beauty of camp, she was someone who had a very inactive lifestyle. And she came to camp and had a whole new world open up to her, as did I in different ways. Because although, I grew up camping and doing outdoor stuff, this is where I was introduced to canoeing.
Yep.
And to this day, I'm still a canoeist by heart and try to take the opportunity to get out in a canoe whenever I can.
Yeah.
So when we, as Bonnie said, when we became teenagers, we started to realize that although our camp friends were really, really close and we were connected to, it was Bonnie and my connection and relationship after camp was over for us that we realized that we're truly connected, partly because of this, but partly because we are sisters from another mother.
But and also what's cool is like this was the one place where I felt understood.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Talk about that. Why?
Well, because I'm the only diabetic in my family, and like I was lucky. I'm an only child. My parents changed their whole attitude towards food for me.
Yeah.
Like suddenly, we no longer went and got KFC every Tuesday night. It was like, let's have something. Let's have baked chicken. But at high school at school, I was the only diabetic kid.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this is a time when the only diet soft drink was Canada Dry Ginger Ale, which had an image of 2 old people on a sailboat on the can. Like,
Yum.
and that was the thing. And they didn't have snack. You didn't eat a snack. So they didn't. And the nurse was like, "Oh, can't you just eat it in the bathroom? Like, eat my snack in the bathroom."
And so after you being here, then
After I've been here, I was like,
other people like us.
there's other people like us, and I could talk to other people like, well, what do you do when you go to school? Like, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you, because they understood it. And if somebody was having a reaction, people didn't freak out and go, oh my God, or we didn't treat each other differently after a reaction had happened.
And back in the 70s, let's face it, in the 70s, it was still very restrictive in terms of how you were testing, what you were allowed to eat. And there was this general attitude, and this is the problem that I had in my family, was they still got the KFC and the pizza every weekend, but they just told me I couldn't have any. So it became very restrictive for me, and it led to some eating problems as a result. So and this is what brought me to my work I did with the Canadian Diabetes Association at the time, when I started to sort of move my career into the direction of like working with people who are trying to help people with diabetes, I was basically that full-on advocate for there's no special food for someone with diabetes. You just need to understand good choices. So this experience here brought us together. It led me into a career path where I was able to continue working with the camp for several years in my younger years. I did have a kidney transplant in 1994, so I did pull back on my work with diabetes. But I come to every reunion, like and I still see friends from 1977. It's amazing.
And how do you feel about walking around here today?
It's amazing.
And overwhelming?
Because
a lot of different emotions.
It is different because, and this is what I appreciated during our gathering at the Wishing Well, talking about our celebration of the land, which was also always something that was so important to me. And I too never understood that our use of Native Day and the Native village, it was never intended as anything other than respect. And that's, I always took that with me. And today, just listening to the talk about, this respect for the land and that God is here and it's been blessed. It's like, truly, this place has not only been blessed, but it's blessed us. Anyone who's been able to be affected by this place.
Well, and just seeing the trees, like
the trees, the COVID-survived trees.
But then the distance between the cabins, because I remember,
very short.
I remember wanting to talk to the girl in the next cabin, in the next chalet.
So far away.
And it was like, oh my God, so far away. Like, can I sneak out at night? Oh, they're gonna catch me, because it's like,
you can touch
for
them both
we were
if you
little.
hold their
Yeah,
hands.
we were little. I mean, and the bathrooms are proof of that, right? Because we went into the bathroom and went,
but
was
the
it always
smells,
this
like,
small?
Yeah, but like walking in the trip hut, it's like
Same smell.
the same smell. In the dining hall, it's like, oh my God, same smell.
tables.
Yeah, same tables.
So yes, it's a real blast from the past. I am impressed with the upgrades that have been made, especially to the insulin. It's stunning.
Fabulous.
And so it's wonderful coming here to see the let's say historic with the current. And although we're not part of it the way that people working here now or working with the camp are part of it, we still feel like we're coming home. It's always been that way for me personally. I always felt home here. I was sad to leave, but I grew up.
And I will say, with the 25th reunion, it was sort of, like bittersweet, because that was the first time I gathered with people and saw complications happen. Because, you didn't really, like, yes, people had talked about having transplants and stuff. I mean, Jojo Buckholmes did. But it's just, it's just sort of seeing people with seeing eye dogs, seeing people with, having issues walking around and stuff. And it's like, ooh. Yes,
it's a reality.
We do have a disease.
It's a reality.
Because I never felt like I had a disease when I was here.
Yeah, but it gets harder as you get older, and now we've lost a lot of people, which has been very difficult.
And that's what makes these events poignant, is that you're seeing the passage of time, that the trees are taller and people are older.
And it's a lot shorter between buildings than we ever anticipated.
And the bathrooms are way smaller.
But my knees still don't hit the door, so I'm short enough. It's good. So this place is certainly probably the most important place in my entire life, more than any other place I've ever been. And it'll always, till the day I die, it'll always hold a place in my heart. Absolutely.
Thank you for talking to me.
Hey, thank you
for... That was a good place to
end. Because we're like... Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
This is
you
fun.
You have a unique connection.
Yes, we certainly do.
We're weird. We get it.
We get it.